An absolute pleasure to welcome to the podcast this week someone who, when I first started this show, I made a big list of all the people that I would want to talk to. And one of the very first people that was on that list was today's guest, Anna Bottino, someone who, as I thought about it, Anna Bo, our paths have kind of like been crossed for a long number of years now. I mean, so obviously we went to Shen together at high school. That's where we met. But we were in choir together for a number of years. And so me and you had the similarity where we both would have identified as athletes first. That was our thing. You were a field hockey star. I was a meaningless basketball player. And so you sang, you were an alto, shout out to the altos, and then I was in bass. And so we were in choir all these years. And that was kind of like our side thing. While we were athletes, we identified as athletes, but we both loved singing. So we had that, we had some classes together. Then we went to UAlbany together, and I was working for the student newspaper, radio, TV station, and all that stuff. And then you were one of the stars of the nationally ranked UAlbany field hockey team. So it was so cool for me to be a journalist. When you're a journalist, you're supposed to be not taking sides, not rooting for anyone, right? Just telling it like it is. I was completely rooting for you the whole time. Like every goal you scored, every good pass you made, I loved cheering you on and watching you and Paula and the rest of the squad dominate. So it was so much fun kind of growing up with you over the years. And it's a shame that I actually haven't really talked to you that much. A couple of DMs here and there over the last few years. So I'm really excited to talk to you today to find out what's up. Anna Bo, thank you for joining me. So good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm honored to be on this podcast. I've been following it on Instagram, and it's so awesome to kind of see where everyone's at and to pick what's on their mind.
Well, we would love to know where you are at and what's on your mind. So for those of the listeners who do not know, where are you right now in your life and what are you doing?
So I currently live in Northampton, Massachusetts. I am a first-year PhD student in sports psychology, and I am an assistant field hockey coach at Mount Holyoke College. And at Springfield College, I am also a graduate associate in institutional research. So I run those surveys that you get after you graduate and no one answers. That's what I do. So I'm the face behind those emails.
How does that make you feel when no one answers?
Honestly, I totally get it. Like it's, a 50-question survey, and I know that we're all very busy. So I totally understand when people don't respond, but I'm trying to find ways to make it more interesting and put some incentives out there so that we do respond. But yeah, that's just something, that I do on the side to help pay for school. And other than that, it's a skill set that I build. But yeah, as a PhD student, my line of research is LGBTQ plus experiences in athletics. And specifically, one of the dissertation topics I am interested in looking at is intra-team lesbian relationships. So 2 women on a all women's team dating, essentially, and what that does for team dynamics.
So I'm trying to remember to what you studied in UAlbany. I feel like it was the sciences that might be on course here, but because I just kind of want to know how we got to this point. So I feel like how we got to this point, we should backtrack first. What did you study at UAlbany and what did you want to do then with your life? What was the goal?
Yeah, I mean, I got a bachelor's of arts in psychology, but I think I studied field hockey. Like I switched my major 3 times, and I just want to be transparent that I didn't really care about school. Like my first 2 years, my main goal was to be on the national team, to win a national championship and, to be the best that I could possibly be. And I picked a major that could fit with that could accommodate that goal. And then, after sophomore year, after talking to some of my mentors and them saying like, you really do need to like get decent grades, you need to try. I pivoted completely and, dove into psychology. I was previously a bio major. If you ask my teammates, I was the worst bio major ever. And then, I kind of thought about like, what do I kind of want to study? What can help me, get into a field broadly that I'm interested in? And psychology just seemed like a great fit. After college, I didn't really know what to do. I was like, I don't want to go to grad school immediately, but I know I'll probably need to, because when you major in psychology, like, what are you going to do with that? You need some sort of education afterwards, or some sort of trajectory. So I decided to move out to Los Angeles with my partner at the time, and live for a year in Los Angeles, because when am I ever going to do that? And I started to do personal training because it was fun. It was a way for me to stay involved in sport. And I wasn't really thinking about an end goal in terms of my career. I was just kind of following like where I felt like I was needed and wanted to be most. And it was in an athletic space. And that remains today. I thrive within an intercollegiate athletic space. And so I personal trained for strength and conditioning clients in Los Angeles. I was a barista for 5 months, which was so fun. It honestly, if I could do that full time and support myself, I would probably do it. It's like the life.
Well, my dream's to open up a coffee shop, so stay on my good side and I'll hire you.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in. And then the thing that really helped me figure out exactly what I want to do and what I'm doing now was I did a 6-month internship with UCLA with their Olympic sports performance department. So working with Olympic sports at UCLA, and working at a Power 5 Division I school in a weight room was the best experience of my life. It kicked my ass. I was working from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day for 6 months. But in that space, I saw so many athletes that were the best in the country or the world struggle. And they struggled because of things that were not physical at all. It was mental. It was, I can't handle the pressure of being an athlete. I have so much going on at home. I can't focus at school. I can't focus in the weight room or on the field. And I became really passionate about helping those people, but I wasn't qualified to do so. So I was like, what can get me qualified to do this? And it became apparent that like a master's in sports psych was just exactly all the buttons I wanted to hit. I didn't love working, 60 hours a week in a weight room with no windows. I wanted, to be on the other side of whatever that was. And to me, that was sports psychology and consulting. And so I decided to move back to Ithaca or move back to New York rather, and get a master's at Ithaca College in sports psychology. And that kind of led me to where I am now.
When you look back on your time at UAlbany as a student athlete, did you personally deal with these issues that you are now trying to tackle, or did you see your teammates dealing with those issues?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot going on at home in college. My mom was very sick my sophomore, junior, and senior year with what we now know to be Lyme disease, but we didn't know at the time. So I was struggling with having to balance like being an athlete, being a student, and then also helping take care of my mom. And it actually turned out to be fate that I was 25 minutes away from home. And I think that now more than ever, working in athletics, you see that there are so many things going on in an individual's life. And in a way, yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it that way, but a lot of my personal experience as an athlete has directly translated to what I want to do as well.
So a lot of things that you've said so far that I want to get into. So I'm just curious to know, when you were a freshman at UAlbany and you were field hockey or die, like what did you think your future was going to entail? Because unfortunately, this is the way it is. Maybe it's changing now with the way the college sports are going. You're not a football player. You're not a basketball player. The best of the best have a future in those careers. The best of the best in field hockey, they're not really doing much with it beyond college. I mean, you can play on national teams and such, but still that's not nowhere near to a sustainable living.
No, I mean, one of my former teammates, Kelsey Bridell, is currently on the national team. She's got a great backstory. She'd actually be a great candidate for this podcast.
I remember Kelsey.
And she can speak to it. It's an incredible opportunity and it's an honor, but it is very hard to monetarily support yourself. It is very hard. There is not an infrastructure for field hockey to thrive, but women's sports in general to thrive. You look at, the U.S. women's soccer team, it's, that's a headline. Hopefully everyone knows that they are adequately or severely underpaid. And you know, the players that aren't stars on that team, they're working extra jobs. They're trying to pull together money. They get paid horribly. So it's not just field hockey. But as a first year at Albany, I don't even know what I was thinking. I was thinking, you know, month by month, I was thinking about the next game. I was on the U19 national team. I was thinking like, all right, I'm just going to ride this. Like, I'm going to work hard. I mean, I was on the field every morning, every night. I was in the weight room. I was running. I was trying my best to train like a professional athlete, but you know, my body, my mind, and my trajectory was not there. Like I needed time. I needed time to grow and to develop. And I think, you know, sophomore, junior year, I understood that more. But yeah, when you're excited and passionate about something, and when you're a little bit crazy too, you start to, you know, dive into something that you love. And I think I'm like that with everything I do. Like I'm 100 miles an hour in the best way possible. And, you know, it's just who I am. But yeah, I wasn't really thinking past, you know, the Saturday or Sunday game we had at that time. Yeah.
So you go out to Los Angeles after school. I'm a sucker for spontaneous decisions that a lot of people will criticize you for and be like, why the heck are you doing that? That's not smart, especially when you go out there without did you have a job in place, or
Oh
you
my
just
God.
got up and went?
No, I mean, we drove like from New York to Los Angeles, and I had no plan. I had no
Did your
job.
girlfriend at the time, Fee,
Yeah.
did she have something?
Yeah, she is actually finishing up her film school now, and
Okay.
she's doing great things. And she had film school, so like essentially graduate school for 3.5 years. So she had a plan, she had stuff set up. I was just, you know, thinking it's a huge city. I'll find a job in something. And I was willing to work any job possible. I think the main goal was to just figure myself out. When you're a Division I athlete, or, you know, a college student in general, you have no clue what you want to do. I think I talked to someone yesterday who was a recruit, and I was like, I wish that it was the norm to go to college to start your freshman year when you were 25, because I think that a lot of us struggle after school to really find something we're passionate about, or we settle for something because it's what we're supposed to do. And so
Absolutely.
I followed that drive to do something spontaneous and slightly stupid, and it was the best decision I ever made. Yeah.
I think it's so ridiculous that we expect 18-year-old kids, hey, choose where you want to go to college and choose something there that you think you can do, that you can love, that you can make money for, that can be sustainable for the next like 40, 50 years of your life. How are you supposed to know what you're looking for in an environment? How are you supposed to know that this might fulfill you if you've never actually done it before? I think it's so ridiculous. And then even when you get out of college, even after you've trained in the classroom and done internships, like that's still not real experience. You still don't know what it's like until you're you in Los Angeles, or you're me in Bristol, Connecticut, working until 4 a.m., walking 10 minutes to my car in the bitter cold at 4 a.m. That's real life. College doesn't prepare you for that.
No, it really doesn't. And I think the best advice I have for any young person is to like try every single career that you might be thinking about. Like, I mean, I've done the weirdest jobs, and whether that's to like pay for school, support myself.
Like what?
Oh gosh, I've walked dogs, I've been a barista, I've cleaned so many different like parts of a college. I've done survey research, I've participated in studies that are like weird to like get money. What else have I done? I've done DoorDash, Grubhub.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in trying everything and anything you can think of to make something work. So
Wow. How have your family and your friends and your partners, how supportive have they been for you throughout this entire self-discovery process?
I think everyone thinks I'm a little bit nuts.
Definitely a little nuts. I mean, but in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, when I told everyone I was moving out to LA, I think my parents' response was just like, all right, like, we'll be here if you need it. Like, I think that I love my friends, and I love my friends from home a lot because, we all come home during holidays and we'll all go over stuff. And like, I would say a lot of our friends have their shit together. Like, they have great careers. They're doing like professionally. I don't know what's going on behind the curtain, but like they appear to have their shit together. And then
Right.
like I'm sitting there like a couple years ago and like, yeah, I mean, I live in Los Angeles. I'm a barista. Like I'm doing DoorDash. I nanny a little bit. I personal train, and I'm
I
having
picked
the
gum
time.
off a desk yesterday.
Yeah, like I'm but everyone has always been so supportive, and I think that's all you can really ask for. Um, that's all you can really ask for, and it's really an incredible privilege to have the network that I do. My fiance Katie, like during field hockey season, essentially did every single thing possible for us, and I wouldn't have thrived. I would have eaten canned food for weeks. Like it's just because that's the nature of coaching and
Yeah.
getting your PhD. But I think that I wouldn't be able to do the things I do without support, and whether that's emotional support, at times monetary support, like there's always some sort of helping hand in the works with me.
So you spent a year in Los Angeles. Was that the plan the whole time? Did it end prematurely? What happened there?
I didn't like, I was thinking maybe a couple of years. When I was looking at grad schools, I was looking at in Los Angeles, but a huge part of me being able to go somewhere was always going to be that it gets funded. And I think that you should always try to get your graduate education funded if you can. And in the end, Ithaca offered me a tuition waiver and a decent salary to coach and get my master's. And so I had to take it. Like it would have been a huge burden to, have to pay for my graduate education, as I'm sure all of us would also have to deal with. So it was really lucky that, my career in field hockey and my experience got me that position. And at the end of the day, I had to take that opportunity. So I did have to leave Los Angeles. And, it did end my relationship, and that was sad, but it also opened a lot of doors for me. And at the end of the day, like I'm happy, and it was the best decision possible.
Los Angeles to Ithaca. That's a big, big change of pace, lifestyle wise.
Yeah, it was actually cool. Like on my way back to New York when I was moving, my girlfriend at the time came with me, and we traveled up through California into Canada, and then we drove across Canada, and it
Wow.
was just so fun. It was so fun. And I did it in a Corolla, a 2012 Corolla, and she's still kicking. She's parked out front. Like
Wow.
she's great car.
What did you
Yeah.
say at the border?
What do you mean?
Like when you cross the border over into Canada, they always ask you a bunch of questions, and they always look at you
Oh,
sideways. So when you said, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna drive across all of Canada, Montreal to New York," like I'm sure they thought you were an absolutely insane person.
I mean, you'd be really surprised. A lot of people do it, but not in a Corolla full of stuff. Like you have to pop your trunk sometimes at the border and open up your car, or maybe that was just my experience. But like they had to check some things, and they were like, have you gotten your like oil changed or your tires checked? Like it's not an old car, but it's a Corolla driving through Banff and Jasper National Park and through the middle of like Canada, which is pretty desolate. Like,
Yeah.
and it was just so funny. I was like, yeah, like I figured we'd just take the long way home, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Shout out to you for doing that. So you get to Ithaca, New York. So you're
Yeah.
studying and you are coaching.
Yeah.
Were you coaching just to kind of like because you just still love field hockey and want to be a part of it for the time being while you're studying, or do you want that to be a staple of your life for years to come?
Um, that's a great question. I think that I have this weird thing where I can't let field hockey go. And if you know me, you know it's been a part of my life for a very long time and it's a part of my identity. And coaching is the only way right now that I can connect with that part of my identity. And so I hold on to it and I cherish it. And at Ithaca, I knew I wanted to look into coaching. I was interested. I was still also interested in strength and conditioning. And obviously, I wanted to dive into sports psychology as well. And for a time, I was interested in integrating all of that into my practice. But then I started coaching and helping to work with this incredible program. And my boss at the time, Caitlin Wahila, and her assistant coach, Mo Ordnung, were just incredibly influential in my understanding of just how impactful coaching can be and how incredible it can be at the Division III level. I had honestly not considered ever coaching or being involved in the Division III level, and now I plan to devote my entire life to it. So it was the most transformative couple of months for me in the fall of 2019, working with a team, learning about sports psych theory and counseling techniques, and like moving to a new place, meeting new people. I think that it's incredible that field hockey started for me as like a sport that I played, and now it's something that like I am. It's part of me in so many ways. It's taught me so many things, and it's always going to be a part of my life. I would love to have a position at a college where I'm a head coach, a professor, and an administrator. I am obsessed with the busybody life of athletics, and field hockey has to be a part of it. It just has to.
What is it about coaching that you are so drawn to?
I really like watching athletes figure it out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on the field. I think that I've never gotten to see a class go through all 4 years, but even seeing an athlete go through a season and kind of process, on the field, a skill that they've been working on or a concept, tactical or technical, that they've been trying to hammer down, or like a week full of classes where they didn't think they could get through it with field hockey practice, with lift, and then they get to the end of the week and they're like, that wasn't so bad. Or, they graduate as a senior after a full season, after 4 years, and they're like, wow, like this really actually prepared me. Having a busy schedule prepared me. The culture and philosophy that this coaching staff had prepared me for life. Like all of those moments are so rewarding for me because I think they're just reflective of my experience as an athlete. And it's almost like I'm watching, myself and all of my teammates go through it all over again. And I get to learn each time about how I can do it better. And something about that I think is so exciting. It's like some of the most influential times in a young person's life. And we have the honor to like impact that and be a part of that. And, I'm humbled that that is my job and that is part of what I do. And I know it's a huge task, and it's so rewarding for me.
I'm curious what kind of coach you are in terms of your style, because you always had the reputation of, oh, that's just Anna Bo. Anna Bo's the silly one. And also, you're not that much older than a lot of the girls that you're coaching. So I know that can be kind of weird where it's like, are you their friend? Are you their coach? How do you draw the line,
Yeah, I mean, I think my first season at Ithaca, I was a friend, and that you learn on your own the pros and cons to that. There's mainly cons. Like you aren't able to have an authoritative relationship with your athletes. I think that if we're talking technically, I am a democratic coach. So I like our athletes, or I like my athletes to figure it out through me guiding them there. I also like them to be collaborative in that process. So I'm always going to ask my athletes what they thought about a drill. I'm always going to ask my athletes what they want to work on. And I'm always going to give them a choice in what they want to work on. Because at the end of the day, it is not my experience, it is theirs. So that is the main like core of my philosophy. I am a goofy person. Like I am very goofy. When I'm on the field, I can turn it on and off easily. I think that it's a skill that I still work on because I will laugh at anything. Like I am an easy giggle, but I think that with my athletes, like I try to establish a culture where they know where the times when I'm going to joke around and they know the times when I'm going to be serious. And I think this year, actually, this season with the team I'm working with, I really got to practice that philosophy. And I was really happy reflecting back on, how it portrayed itself. And especially in my individual meetings with athletes now, I feel good about how the season went and I feel better as a coach with how I was perceived. But that's always going to be growing and changing. I'm always going to make mistakes. And I'm 25. Like, that's fine. I don't mind making mistakes. I just want to learn from them as a coach and as a person.
Exactly. I mean, I think mistakes are highly valuable. I kind of like, I embrace making mistakes. Obviously, you don't want to make
Yeah.
mistakes, but I mean, I take so many chances and risks and do dumb things that I'm just bound to make mistakes, which I like doing. Cause I mean, I think at this point in our lives, to your point, like the stakes are so low, right? You have a
Mhm.
fiance, but you don't have kids. Like you're just scraping by and that's fine. Like it's just you guys and it's, you don't have to impress anyone else or please anyone else. Like it's totally your life. So I'm fully in favor of that. So you're at Ithaca. You're not at Ithaca anymore. You are now in Northampton, Massachusetts. You told me the name of the school. I've already forgotten. My life's a
Okay.
mess. So is my head. But you're doing that now. How did you get there?
So for a master's, oftentimes you can write a thesis or take a comprehensive exam. And I chose to write a thesis. And through that process, you basically come up with a study. Well, at least how I did it. You come up with a study, you do a large review of the literature about that particular topic. You collect data, you analyze that data, and then you write about it. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like a 120-page document. And that is a lot of the times your first introduction with working with research. And I loved it. I was like, this is for me. I love questioning things. I love diving deeper. I love picking one thing and just concentrating on it. Um, and my advisor at the time was like, you'd be a great candidate for a PhD, and you don't necessarily have to remain in academia with a PhD. A lot of administrators within athletics, which is something I expressed that I had interest in, need PhDs now to be administrators. Or if you want to work within an organization higher up, having a PhD is really helpful. But I really am getting a PhD because I love research and I want to know more about something. And I can't tell you exactly what this PhD will get me job wise. It's a PhD in sports psychology. It's really concentrated. But I seriously just wanted to know more about LGBTQ plus experiences in athletics. And that's directly because of my experience. I'm trying to understand and contextualize a lot of different things for myself and for other people. And I just want to study this. Like, I don't mind dedicating 4 years of my life to it. I don't, like you said, my obligations are low right now. And this, amongst other really important things, is a priority. And so I chose to get a PhD. So I applied to a bunch of different places. At the end of the day, Springfield was the best option for me. And yeah, I'm here for 4 years. So we'll see what happens.
I want to talk about that 4 years because I have several friends who are getting PhDs, who want to be doctors, who have really still never made a dollar in their careers. Like they're, 24, 25, 26 and haven't made any money yet. And like, they're like, yes, their careers have started, but like not really, And I mean, I started at 21. I left Albany after 3 years. So like my career started early. I can't imagine being 28 and still my career not really having started yet. So I'm curious, as a high achiever like yourself, a person who likes to get things done, how does that sit with you that you really haven't like gotten started yet,
Yeah, I mean, that like sometimes I wake up in the morning and like feel sick. Like I'm like, oh my God, I mean, anyone can tell you like PhD students make nothing with their
Yeah.
graduate associateships or their fellowships. You're the bottom of the barrel. Like I remember in my master's program, actually, the strength and conditioning and like interns and GAs, they made a bet that like they could survive on $20 a week. And the shit they were eating was hilarious. And like, it's so true. I mean, the only way around it is having some extra money lying around or taking out loans. So I think that like, yeah, there are times when I'm panicking and I'm like, wow, I'm gonna come out of here and I'm gonna apply for jobs and my work experience is gonna look weird. Like I've been everywhere around the map. But also when you're a PhD student, or at least how I'm doing it, like I am trying to work and be involved in all of these things that do give me experience. Like I'm currently working on a research project right now that I'm really passionate about. I am working with a field hockey team. I'm trying to, implement some initiatives at our college for DEI. I am working within institutional research, which means I am learning really comprehensive skills in programs like SPSS and Excel, which are really important for analyzing data, not just on the academic level, but also in corporate business. So I'm trying to diversify my skill set and, remain focused on my schoolwork. And at the end of the day, I think that actually gives me a lot of experience with different sectors of work. It doesn't give me a lot of money, and that's the pill that I have to swallow. I work for free a lot. But it builds my resume, it builds my experience, and it builds my confidence as well. But yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to talk to, we talk about it as a cohort all the time, how we're all just broke and crying.
So between studying and researching and initiatives and all that stuff, I mean, how do you strike a balance? Because there's obviously, because again, like you're not making that much money, right? And and you also work in athletics, so it would be very contradictory of you to preach to your athletes, eat your veggies, get your workouts in, and then for you to not do it yourself, right? So there's a lot for you to get in. How do you make sure that you do all the self-care and all the right things, get all of that in your day, and do all of the 5 trillion jobs that you have?
So, this is a working theory I have, and I'm going to jump all over the place, but I think balance is overrated. I truly believe, and it doesn't mean that I don't believe in mental health, like initiatives, and I don't believe in bettering yourself, and I don't believe in taking time for you. But I believe if you want to truly do something, then you need to throw away balance and look at what is attainable for you and what you're able to do. And, if you really want something as well, you need to know yourself. Like, I know sometimes for weeks at a time, I'm going to need to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get everything I need to get done for the day. And I'm going to need to go to bed at 10 p.m. And that is something that I just cannot compromise on. I know that I'm going to need to delete social media during the week so that I don't look on my phone. I know that I'm probably going to need to put my phone on do not disturb for 3 hours out of my day so I can actually do homework. And when I come home at the end of the day, eating dinner and spending time with my fiance, that's my balance. Petting my dog is my balance. And my workout is my balance. But me actually sitting down and having like a mindfulness routine, that it just will never work for me because I have to prioritize the things that matter most to me. So I guess balance in the sense of like mindfulness, self-care, like I have to redefine what those things mean so that I can have balance, which by the definition and conception of balance is probably not balance. But to me, I am truly happy this way. Like I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I typically do some research in the morning because like for some reason my brain loves to be awake at 5:15 and work. And
Same.
I've learned that. So like I wake up super early. I have a cup of coffee, I do research, I go to class, I come back, I either do work like recruiting or plan practice, or I'm doing some sort of work for the institutional research office. Then I'm doing homework. And then by 4 p.m., I know that, I'll probably want to work out because I'm getting things done. So I'll work out. I'll take the dog out, I'll come home. Sometimes, dinner's graciously made for me. And sometimes like we're pulling it together at the last minute. And then, you know, I get right back to work and then I go to bed and I watch like 15 minutes of whatever's on the television before bed. But like that day in and day out, I'm okay with that because there are some tidbits of everything in that day that I just enjoy so much.
I'm really happy you said that because this is something that I've been thinking about myself. Like right now, I am working a lot, and I, like you, have a high capacity for work. Like it's just part of being in the media, and my family is in the media. So I grew up watching my mom and dad just kind of be working or be on all of the time. And so I've kind of got that from them. I am, like you said, more than happy to kind of be working all day. Like I'm working in the morning and I'm working at night, just pretty much before I go to bed every night, I'm working. As long as if petting your dog is your thing, it's like, as long as I get my workout in, my healthy meals, couple walks, and like 30 minutes of reading, I'll work the rest of the day. That's totally fine with me. So it's good to hear someone else say that balance is kind of overrated, because I'm kind of getting that way too. I think I've just fallen, the buzzword thing is like, oh, you need to have work-life balance and you need, mental health balance and self-care and all that stuff, which I do believe in all of that stuff, but I don't think we need to be hyping it up maybe as much as a lot of people are.
Yeah, I think it's also a subjective thing. Like
Yeah.
there are some people that do need to take 2-3 hours a day and journal and meditate and go for a walk and be at peace away from work. And that's totally fine. I think that if you know yourself well, you know what you need. And I know, every once in a while, I do spend a day on the couch watching some weird show. Like I do, because I know, I wake up and I'm like, you know what? It's not going to work today. And that's typically, one Sunday a month where I'm like, I'm
And
going to
when
order
that
pizza.
happens, how do you not beat yourself up? Because if I ever have that vibe where it's like, I'm just not feeling it today, I don't want to do anything today, I just immediately be like, all right, like my very self-defeating voice in my head, like, all right, pussy, come on, like you're
Yeah.
here, like you need to do X, Y, and Z, like just go, go, go. That's what you do. Like, who cares if it's Sunday? Who cares if you have nothing immediately pressing to do? Like, you need to do something. Life is short. You're here for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, you got to accept that it's part of the process. Like sometimes, yeah, everyone has that self-deprecating voice. But if you're sitting on the couch and, you slept 3 hours the night before because you were up doing work late and you're like, I have the day off. I actually need to take the day off. I need to recharge right now. Then that's okay. Like that is just as beneficial as spending 4 or 5 hours doing work. I truly believe that. I think that, those moments are few and far between, and we have to accept that whatever recharges us is just as important in that process as what fuels us. Like when we're doing things every single minute of every single day. It's tough. I mean, I'm not perfect. I think that there are times when I'm like, wow, I clocked 75 hours this week of doing all sorts of shit and I'm really tired and I forgot to eat breakfast. That's bad. Like I should probably eat something. But I go to bed every night and wake up every morning so excited. Like I'm so excited about my day. And that I have to be doing something right if that's how
Exactly.
I feel.
That's the best.
And
That's where you want to be.
yeah. Yeah. And if I could be a student the rest of my life, I would. I think it's awesome. I think that being like in a learning environment is so valuable. So I hope that I can maintain that in whatever career I choose, because it's so exciting to me to be in that space.
It's a good mindset to have. I mean, I feel like the vast majority of people, once they get out of school, they're like, well, all right, I'm done learning. I don't need to take notes anymore. I don't need to read anymore. I don't need to do any of that anymore. But in reality, I mean, like I've learned more in the last 4 years in adult life than I ever did in school, to be completely honest. Like, so I guess my advice that you obviously would, would echo is that like, always be learning. There's always people you can talk to. There's always videos you can watch or things that you can Google. I think that's very important. I think a lot of young people think that they know everything, that they have everything figured out, that they don't need help, that they don't need to take direction from anybody. Especially today, our generation, our generation gets a bad rap about a lot of things. I do think one thing that is fair is that like we're less willing to like to hear people out, I guess, sometimes. So that's my thoughts on that. I do want to talk to you about this. So you obviously mentioned your work studying the LGBTQ plus community. You care about it because it has affected you. You are a lesbian. I don't really know your story, so I'd really be curious to learn about it, because I mean, if you would have told me in high school that Annabo was gay, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised. If you told me Annabo was straight, I also wouldn't have been surprised. Like I don't know. So when did you know? When did you first come out? Like I want to know all the details.
Yeah. I think I've known my whole life, but I don't think this sounds so abstract and weird and dumb, but like I think I've known my whole life. And when I look at like little things, in high school or in college, even before I came out, like I always wanted to date men, but it never felt right. And there's no other way for me to describe it. Like it just didn't feel comfortable to me. And I didn't necessarily have crushes on any women in my life. I just identified more with and felt more comfortable with women. And in college, like a lot of other queer people will tell you, it's a space where you kind of figure yourself out. And I was really lucky to have people on my team that identified as something other than heterosexual for me to look to as sort of trailblazers for my own experience. I had a welcoming and really loving team environment. So people would have been fine if I was not heterosexual. They would have been completely welcoming, and that is not an experience for everybody. So that was an incredible privilege. I think freshman year, I was probably bi-curious. I was thinking about other sexualities that I might identify with, but I wasn't comfortable enough to affirm that. So I was still, dating, hanging out with, whatevering with dudes. Like it was just comfortable for me. My sophomore year and junior year, that started to change for me. My junior year, I, started to explore my sexuality a little bit more. And then my senior year, actually, I cannot remember the exact time I came out to my teammates, but I know spring semester, my junior year, I came out to my family, who was like, dude, you're fine. Like we've known. And which, is kind of sad in of itself because you want it to be this big, exciting thing and it's not. But I came out to my family, I came out to my friends. Maybe it was the summer before my senior year. And then I came out to my teammates and they were like, we love you. Obviously, we still love you. Like, we're going to be here for you. And yeah, other than that, I think that I was blessed to be able to do it in my own time, but I think that there were some factors in my life that prevented me from doing it earlier. And that's tough to reconcile with. I wish that we could all come out when we're, 5 years old. I wish that we could be comfortable enough in our sexuality to feel that way. But so many times the case is not just in your own home, but like society in general, the place you reside, the people that you're surrounded with don't know enough to, or just don't cultivate a comfortable environment for you. And it's not necessarily anyone's fault. A lot of the times we do it subconsciously. I'm guilty of doing it as well. But yeah, a lot of me coming out and truly grappling with my sexuality was understanding that I've probably been this way my whole life and trying to contextualize how me not coming out affected my growth as a human being.
So I know you said that you didn't have any crushes on other women growing up, but were there ever times where you were kind of thinking about your sexuality in your mind where like you maybe thought that you might be into women, but you're like, no, I can't be into women. That's not acceptable, or that's not normal, and I want to be normal. Like, did you ever have to kind of fight that battle in your head?
Yeah. So do you know the movie Practical Magic?
No.
Okay, so Sandra Bullock is in it and Nicole Kidman, and like Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman are descendants of witches, I think. They're witches. Um, I think I had a huge crush on Sandra Bullock, and I saw this
Same.
in middle school. Yeah, she's super hot. So I think I had a crush on her. Like I had also Kristen Stewart from Twilight. I had her like all over my room, and I thought it was just like I loved Twilight, but I didn't really love Edward. I loved Bella. So I feel like Sandra Bullock and Bella Swan from Twilight were like my A1 day one lady crushes. And
Good
yeah,
choices.
yeah. But yeah, I think all of my role models in life, except for my college coach, actually have been women. Like all of them, all of my best, like I have so many best friends that are women, I think. And that's not to say that dudes aren't great. I think I have guy friends and I love them. I love the men in my life and I think they're really special. I just identified more with and connected more with women. And you can be that way and not identify as queer. You can totally live your life that way. I just think for me, like, it is an indicator for me of what I might have been thinking and feeling. It's a weird space when you're not out, and when you do come out and think back, I think that there's a lot of trauma in that, like that we don't really acknowledge. Not necessarily like trauma in the sense of like abuse. I think that when you suppress a part of yourself subconsciously for so long and then you realize it, it it's really hard to think about like what you might have been thinking or feeling in that space, because when you come out, it's this incredible affirming experience, and it's also a really sad experience because you're like, okay, how is my life different now, and how would it have been different if I'd come out sooner?
So one of your first girlfriends, if not your first, correct me if I'm wrong, was one of your teammates at UAlbany, Fiona. Did you guys date while you were on the team together?
Her name is Fiore, not Fiona.
I thought it was Fiona. Oops, sorry, Fee.
No.
I should have just gone with Fee. I tried to sound smart.
No, we weren't dating when we were on the team. We were just really good friends, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think after college we started to explore things further. But yeah, respectfully, I just feel like that part of our lives, I always want to honor people's coming out experiences and how they would tell their stories. So I'm not going to like delve into it too much. I just think that
No, yeah, no, totally cool.
yeah.
I was just gonna ask if it was while you guys were on the team together, like what that dynamic was kind of like in the locker room, dating someone else on your team.
Yeah, no, we weren't at that place while playing. No, so I can't really speak to that too much.
Okay. So now I want to know about your current love story, if you don't mind me asking. How did you meet your now fiance, Katie?
Yeah, so I was at Ithaca, and I was single, and I was like just kind of figuring stuff out, dating people, exploring the world of Tinder, which was not a great world for me. I don't know if it's different for straight people, but it was a little bit scary.
It's a weird world.
And yeah. And I was working my butt off, and all of my friends were from work. So like athletic trainers that worked in the department, other coaches, other GAs. So we would all hang out together. And one of those people was Katie. At the time, she was an athletic trainer, and I got to know her as a friend first. We would get drinks after games on Wednesdays and Saturdays as a group. And then after talking with her more, I was just like, I completely fell in love with her. I was like, this is pretty incredible. Like, I had previously been in a really serious, awesome relationship, and I didn't know if that could happen again. And it happened again, and it was even more intense. And things kind of moved pretty quickly. I guess we started dating like a couple months after we met and were friends. And yeah, we moved in together after, I was like post-pandemic, but kind of still during the pandemic. It was 2020 June, and we started dating in October or late September of 2019. But I just kind of knew, and so did Katie. Like, we just kind of knew that this was very serious, and it was the real deal. And we got engaged this past summer, actually, and it was incredible. So yeah.
I want to ask you about that in a moment, but I'm just kind of curious because I think we all walk around assuming everyone is straight. How do you know when another woman is not straight?
Oh man. Well, I've been wrong before, and that really sucks. But I think you have like in my experience and what I'm comfortable with, like you have a pre-established dynamic of like this person identifies as a queer person because they've said so. Like, and that's why for me, I feel like I'd only ever be comfortable dating someone that I was either friendly with or friends with prior, unless it was explicitly stated on something like Tinder or Bumble, like where that they identify as something. Yeah, I think that there's always this pre-established dynamic when you're older. I think in college, like lines are blurred and you never know without like explicitly asking, and that can be something really uncomfortable for people, which I think is also a reason why it was difficult for me to come out in college, because I didn't know how to approach that entire situation, so I just didn't. But now I think I have like a pre-established relationship with that person. Obviously, like with Katie, we were friends first. Yeah, it's difficult. I'm trying to think of how that would be for someone who's like newly come out or isn't out yet, and how you would navigate that space. And I think a lot of it just has to do with your comfort and your knowledge of the situation, which can depend on so many different things.
Yeah. I would feel that is very tough to navigate.
Yeah.
So you're engaged.
Yeah.
What do you guys have planned, like dates or venues or anything like that? Or you just still have so much in your life to figure out?
Yeah, I guess like a lot of the things we would want to do would be pushed anyway, because everyone is getting married right now. Like, at least a lot of our friends are, because they were supposed to get married during the pandemic and then things got pushed, and now booking for venues and places is pushed as well. We don't really have a game plan right now. We're just kind of living in that like post-engagement bubble. But I'd say look out for like something in the next couple of years. I don't think I can wait until I'm done with my doctorate. I feel like I'm ready to get the thing done. But
I think you should drive to Canada and do it.
oh my God, yeah. I think we should totally go to Canada. Oh, that would be so fun.
Last question for you. So you mentioned your dad, musician. Shout out to the Zucchini Brothers. I started the convo by saying that we sing together. Does music show up in your life at all in any way anymore?
Yeah, it does all the time. I love singing. I love playing instruments, and I try to do it at least 1 to 2 times a week. It's for like even 5 or 10 minutes. I'm currently failing at that, but I try to incorporate it in my life any way that I can. I mean, I grew up with music all around me. My dad is a musician. My mom's also a music teacher, retired now, but like it's always been a part of me, just like field hockey. It always will be a part of me. I have my ukulele back here. We have guitars on the wall. We have a record player. Like, there are things in my house that just will always follow me everywhere that I go. I do wonder though sometimes, because it's a group of people I haven't connected with, like how our friends are doing in choir, or how they're like what they're doing with their lives. I wonder how Miss Baird's doing. Like,
Heather. Heather, what a woman.
I always there are like moments where I'm like, wow, like these people were such a key part of my experience in high school, but I have no clue what's going on with them. So.
Yeah. I don't know if you
Yeah.
would feel the same way as me, but honestly, I mean, this sixth grade or sixth period choraleers or a cappella, whatever, was the highlight of my day every day. It was kind of my escape from everything else, school wise or sports wise. There was no better feeling than cultivating these relationships with people over 3-4 years through music, through all the lessons together, through all the like the backstage stuff that happens when you're part of a concert or a choir or a musical or whatever. The bonds that you get via singing or creating music together are very, very strong, similar to that of a team. And I look back more fondly upon that experience than I actually do my sports experience. I don't know if you feel the same way or not.
I think so. When I came into high school, it was like a requirement for me and my family to do some sort of music. So, and Miss Baird knew that. Like, she was always encouraging me to get more involved. And by my sophomore and junior year, I loved it. It
Mm-hmm.
was, as you said, a great part of my day. It never overrode my sport experience. I think sports always was a priority for me, but it was an outlet and an area of my identity that I at times didn't want to grow, but I needed it. Like, I needed it as another counterbalance to sport, because sport can become all encompassing, and music is this incredible area where you can really be creative. And in so many ways, I think that my creativity within music helped me in field hockey. I was always looking for interesting ways to like get better, interesting ways to increase my skill set. And a lot of my coaches have actually said, like, that's the musical part of you, that's the creative part of you. And I really do believe, like, being involved in something like that helps build other things in really
Yep.
unique ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it kills me when, obviously there's so many schools across the country, elementary, middle, high school, that aren't funded well. And the first things to go are the music programs, the theater, the arts. And I think that stuff is just as important as sports when it comes to building character or skills or relationship building, all that good stuff. I mean, I would consider myself an artistic person. I like to write, I like to speak, I like to do things like this. And even what I do now in podcast is in the audio space. So it's related to that. And I have music to thank for that. And so I think we all have a creative side. I think we all have something within us. Not everyone expresses it because they think, especially guys, they think it's soft or they think it's unmanly to go grab a paintbrush or a microphone or whatever. I wish more people express their creativity.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I've always looked up to you in that way. I think that you balanced it all at a school that prioritized athletics. And there were times actually in high school where I really wanted to quit. And then I looked to you and I was like, Troy's doing it all. I can do it all. Like, and there were times also where I know people look down on me because I was part of those programs. And I
Mhm.
always thought to myself, like, what does that say about them? I'm really trying to be well-rounded. I'm trying to develop a part of myself. Even when I don't want to do it, I knew it was beneficial to me. And having people like you in that space was really helpful for me. So
Amen,
thank you.
Annabelle. So much respect for you, so much love for you. So glad that we got to do this. You've got so many exciting things going on. I'm so happy for you. Shout out to Northampton, Mass. Great place to be. Very nearby my beloved Connecticut. So happy for you. Happy for Katie. Happy for everything you got going on. And you are definitely a person who is going to change the world. One field hockey ball at a time, one research paper at a time. So excited to see where you end up. Thank you.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching today's episode of the Troy Farkas Show. If you would like more from me and my guests, head on over to thetroyfarkasshow.com for more podcasts, blogs, and videos. Be sure to drop a like on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We would really appreciate it.